Hello and welcome to another first Descendant video and welcome to my completed Keelan build. So I've spent most of yesterday and today, 24th and 25th, finishing my build, and overall I'm pretty satisfied with how he has turned out. I won't waste time, I'll get straight into the build page simply because this is not anything different from any of the other people you have seen this build from. Now what I normally do is I look at the stats, make my own build, and then I check with other content creators to see if I missed something obvious or something. Because one or two things were bothering me and I thought I should double check. And no, at the end of the day, it is just as I thought. So what we have with Keelan is we need power, we need a lot of cooldown, bit of range. And if you combine all of that, this is usually what everybody has come up with. So we have the focus on toxic, focus on singular. We have the two amplification, toxic and singular, because he has very low base crit. So we go with these two, and then these two because we want cooldown. Otherwise you can go with power increase, for example, instead of focus on toxic. Then we go for cooldown, MP conversion. He needs a lot of cooldown. So cooldown with these two, and we need range. So skill expansion and amplification control. This will give us almost the max range. And then we need a lot of HP because he's constantly in the people's faces, the enemies, he's dashing through them. So he needs a little bit of health to hold up. So very easy, very simple build. 2 HP mods, 2 power mods with the cooldown, 2 cooldown mods, 2 range mods, and then the 2 amplification non-crit mods. That is it. Now for the external components, I've gone with a Slayer set. You can use other components because you can get some power with the Venom Essence, like 2 pieces. You can get some duration with the Annihilation. And one of the good things about Keelan is he doesn't use MP. So if we look here, look at that, no MP, max MP 0. So you don't have to worry about adding MP and stuff like that. You can see here, no MP over here. So you can build into shields. I have put the Slayer set, but I'll look into other things because again, we don't need MP. So all of this max MP, MP recovery in combat, MP recovery modifier, you can just find something as put shield recovery, you can put element resistance, gold pickup, stuff like that will be very handy with him. And for the reactor, I have gone with the toxic singularity. Again, cooldown in gold and power boost ratio is also 7.3, almost gold levels. Gold is I think 0.8. So I thought, okay, this is good enough. And I have leveled it up to 3. Now, what I want to spend more time on is explaining how his abilities work and how you should play him, his playstyle. Talk a little bit about the Transcendent Mods. And also there's one gameplay issue that was bothering me with Keelan's playstyle. So first up, if you see the 2 bars at the bottom, the first one is grayed out because he has no MP. So that bar is just empty. Nothing will happen over there. The second bar is called the acidic infusion level. I think that is what it's called. Acidic infusion level. Okay. So you have 1000 points on the second bar. Now notice the first 2 abilities are available. The third and fourth abilities are grayed out. That's because you need that acidic infusion to use those abilities. You have to fill up the bar with the first 2 abilities and then use the third and fourth. So the second ability, when you use it once, you get like 100 points or 10% of the bar. So you have to fill it up to get this. Now you can see at halfway, we have both the abilities available to us. The third ability, the V, this uses 250 points or 25%. And the fourth ability uses 500 points. Okay, so that's how you use that. Now, there are a lot of things to go over in terms of what each ability does, but he's quite simple to use. You mostly use the second ability. The C, the onslaught, you'll be using that about 90-95% of the time, maybe 100% of the time, because that is the best ability that also seems to do the most damage. Okay, so the way this works is you have to dash through an enemy, and when you do that, you put the acidic erosion on the enemy, you put some stacks on them, and also you get a bit of a cooldown or reduction on your stack. So you'll get that stack back. Okay. You see this filling up quickly. And now you can put 5 stacks on the enemy. Once you put the 5 stacks, you see the fourth ability. When you are within sort of 5 meters, it starts showing a color over there. Okay, so when you have stacks on the enemy and you are within range, as far as I can tell, it seems to be 5 meters, you can use your fourth ability and do big damage. So let me do that again for you. So 1, 2, how many stacks is that? 4. Now it's 5 stacks. You don't have to do it 5 times to get 5 stacks. Okay, now I don't have enough, so I'll have to get the 500 points. Okay, now we do this and we get 2.87 million, something like that. So it's a good way to put some damage on the enemy. Now, most of the enemies are not strong enough for your onslaught. They'll be dead. This one isn't dying because he's invincible, but if you make them not invincible, they don't stand a chance. You can see dead already, so you don't really have to build up all the stacks and stuff. Now, the other thing I want to mention is if you go through multiple enemies, I think it's 3 enemies, you actually get your cooldowns back faster. So let's go through one enemy. You can see it's dropped down to 4, 3, 4 again. So you are getting the cooldown, but if you do that with multiple enemies, your cooldown, it'll be basically up all the time. So see, 5, that onslaught will stay at 5. So the point is you have to always dash through enemies, and the more the better. I think you have to go through 3. That's what I've heard. Like more than 2 enemies and you'll get your cooldown fast. Let's actually test this out. So if we go 1 enemy, because I have modded and put a lot of cooldown, even with the reactor, you can see it's going down now constantly. Now we're down to 1. Now we're down to 0. Okay. Now another good thing about this is when you're down to like a 0 or 1, if you're further away from the enemy and you press your foot, you get 3 stacks back. So you have to be, I think, 6 meters away, surrounding enemy. Yeah. So if you are within 6 meters, so I said 5 earlier, it should be 6. Okay. And the other hidden thing that I did not realize is he gets a speed boost. If you see here, the passive, when using a skill increases the acidic infusion and grants the agility effect. So you can see like a shoe running fast. After a certain number of uses, you can get up to 4 stacks and you run very fast. So by default, if you look at Keelan, his sprint speed is 800, which is standard like everybody else. But if you use the abilities and get the agility, you see I got 1 agility, and if you see here, we have moved up to 900. We got 2 now. At 2 we have 1000. And there were occasions where I was running through dungeons and I was thinking, how am I running as fast as a BSR or a bunny? And you can see now we are up to 1100 with 3 stacks. And now we have 4 stacks, 1200. So he can run as fast as bunny, to be honest. And that is just ridiculous. So yeah, so that is how you basically use him. Now we were testing the stacks here, so let's go to 2 now, and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, 2 or more enemies, I think, is what we need. As long as you're going through 2 or more enemies, your stacks will maintain a very low cooldown and you'll get them back. So it's 2 enemies. So 90% of the time, you'll be using his second ability. Okay. Now, when you're within 6 meters, you can do this. If the enemies have some stacks of damage on them, you can also use the gust, which also does a little bit of damage. But to be honest, like I said, the second ability is the one that you'll be using. I've run 400% dungeons over and over, and I was trying to see if I can do more damage to bosses and stuff. And at the end of the day, the second ability, just dashing through, was always doing the most damage. Now, a brief word about the Transcendent mods, because what you see here is me running without a Transcendent mod. And the reason for that is I found them to be underwhelming, both of them. The first one is Mobile Strike. So this third ability, the Septic Gust, this changes to something that doesn't deal damage, but gives you the adventurous spirit. So basically what happens is when you have um, 5 stacks, let's say, and you apply the adventurous buff, for the duration, you won't lose the stacks. You can see here, even though I'm not going through enemies, I'm not losing stacks. Now it wears off and I'm losing the stacks. So that is about it. Now you could mod it to increase the duration by sacrificing something else. But I did not see much point to it. You can see the duration goes to 4 seconds. Okay, and the second adventurous spirit, I swapped out one of the range mods. I put a extension mod. Instead of this, if I put this, it goes up to 5.5, but I just did not see much point of it, to be honest. So we go back to amplification control because we want the range. Now this is the first Transcendent mod. It changes a few things, makes a few more things over here. But yeah, so many stacks you don't really need. I found it much more easy to work with 5 stacks of the enemy. The other one is focus on prey. Now this, I thought this might make more sense against single targets because it says here void corrosion, the first ability. It's modified to target a single enemy. Normally it hits multiple enemies. So if we do this here, you can see it hits all 3 of them, okay? And if we put this here, now if we target one enemy, it still hits the neighboring one. But yeah, I was still not seeing the point of it because the damage dealt wasn't enough with one, and you have to still put the stacks. It just didn't seem much use. Plus, it's also reducing your it doing this, but it is what it is. So let's show you what this does. So notice this, radius 6 meters and damage per acidic erosion stack is 1703, which have increased to 1731. If I put this, that goes down to 692. Why have they reduced the damage? See, damage per acidic erosion stack, and over here damage per acidic erosion stack 692. From 17 something it goes down to 6. It reduces that, okay, but I don't see what else is providing in terms of here. The only benefit I'm seeing is the low cooldown goes down, and instead of having a bunch of stacks, we get more stacks, and instead of hitting a bunch of enemies, we hit one enemy. So normally you get 5 stacks. With this one you can put 20 stacks. Now putting 20 stacks is also a lot of work. So let's actually try and see. So 1, 2, 3, how many is that? 6 by the looks of it. 9, 12, 16, 19, 20. 4 million damage. Okay, 4 million damage after 20 stacks. And if you remember from earlier, we were getting 2.8 million from just normal 5 stacks. So if we remove this, because now without that maximum stacks is 5. So 5 stacks. I did not see the number. 2.874. So with 5 stacks, like 3 times quick zooms, you get almost 3 million damage, and then 20 stacks you're getting 4 and a bit. So again, I don't see much point of that. So for me, after trying this out, um, for me, it's better to just use him without the stacks, because you get a slight reduction in cooldown with this one, but it seems to affect the power of all the others. So 1.5 versus 2.2 is barely noticeable. And also, like I said, we are mostly using the second ability, 1, 3, 4, 4. Occasionally, we are using them because when I was running in 400% dungeons to make my life easier, I was just using the second ability, constantly going through enemies, just try to find a bunch of enemies so that your stacks are always up. And when you're out of stacks and you're away from enemies, use the fourth ability to get 3 stacks back. And then occasionally you can do this to get a little bit of damage, and also this one. See, against single targets, I was still zooming through them, dashing through them to do the most damage. And building up 5 stacks is much easier than trying to build up 20 stacks. Now, one final thing I want to talk about regarding Keelan's playstyle, which I did not think about earlier, but some people, including myself, we suffer from a little bit of motion sickness when the game has a low FOV or motion blur and things like that. I tend to get slight headaches, especially with low FOVs. I get headache quite frequently. With some games, I can't even play them for more than 10 minutes. And it wasn't too bad here, but it was still bothering me. Let's say if you have a headache rating, let's say from 1 to 10, where 10 is like insane migraines, somebody's using a jackhammer on your head. I was constantly feeling a level 2 to 3 headache while I was spending time playing Keelan. Like I spent quite a lot of time yesterday and a bit today, and I was constantly under a level 2 to 3 headache. And it's mostly because of this dashing, because this is like 90% of your um, abilities. This is how you will be playing him 90% of the time. You'll be doing this constantly, dash, 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 dash. Occasionally you'll do a little bit of this, then back to dash, 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 dash. And this was kind of getting irritating. And like I said, level 2 to 3 headache. Like initially I did not realize what was happening, and I thought, why am I getting a headache? Did I not sleep well last night? And I just couldn't figure out. And then I realized it's this constant dashing. So if this doesn't bother you, then you are fine. But if it does bother you, like me and a few other people, then yeah, I don't know if I would be able to play him. I mean, I like him. I like his style. He's simple enough to play. Does decent damage with one ability, with low cooldown and stuff. You have a lot of stacks. Sorry if anybody is getting motion sickness by me just doing this, but basically this is how it will be if you play him. So if it bothers you, then yeah, stick to Freyna, Bunny, etc. But if it doesn't bother you, he can be a lot of fun, a lot of tick damage. Just focus on power and cooldown reduction as much as possible, and yeah, you'll have a great time. Just remember to just dash through enemies so that your stacks are up constantly, and occasionally, if you are within range, throw in your third ability or fourth ability and do a little bit more damage. But yeah, I just think this playstyle isn't for everyone because of the headaches. Also, regarding his bossing abilities, I don't see much point again. He isn't really good at bossing, in my opinion. So once again, I did not see much point in trying to build a bossing build. I did find a good reactor though. See additional skill attack when Colossus skill range. So I found one good one, but I don't see much point of using him for bossing. Because you'll have to dash in close to the bosses, they'll slap you or something, and you lose all your health. And we are constantly in enemy spaces, so you try to get as much health as possible. 10k at least I would recommend. So like I said, we've gone with these two mods. This one here, because we don't have MP, so there is no downside to the minus 15% max MP. So you can use that as another mode here. This one also has minus 15% max MP, and this is one occasion where there is no downside. So feel free to use any of these minus max MP mods. And yeah, so that is my Keelan build once again. I'm running him without the Transcendent mod, and I'm running with as much cooldown as possible. And overall, it's a very comfortable, easy to use Descendant once again, that you can dash, constantly apply your damages, and once you have 4 or 5 stacks, you can use one of your third and fourth abilities and do a little more damage. But yeah, overall, 90% of the time, you'll be using your onslaught, your dash, and that's how you play it. So let me know what you think, and let me know if you are also affected by this sort of motion sickness thing, because yeah, I need to lie down because just in the last few minutes. It has made me uncomfortable.